Good evening and welcome to the December 20th, 2012 Planning and Development Committee meeting. I'm Don Frantz. To my right is Councilman Yerha. To his right, Town Manager Ben Shiver, and to my left, Mayor Pro Tem Gale Adcock. We have 3 items on consent. Do any council members wish to pull or discuss anything from consent?
No, sir.
Okay. Just for the audience and those watching at home, we'll just read those real quick. The first one is the Cedar Bend subdivision, request for a payment in lieu of road improvements. Item number 2 is the Cary High School Phase 3, request to waive required road improvements along Walnut and Maynard. And number 3 is East Coast Greenway. It's just an official endorsement and consideration of the East Coast Greenway. If you'd like to learn more about any of those items, you can check the town's website at townofcary.org. First up for discussion is Comprehensive Transportation Plan Amendment, Southeast Cary Parkway Extension, and we'll hear from Mr. Delk.
Thank you, committee members. About a year ago this time, there was a request from council to take a look at different alternatives and ramifications of removing Cary Parkway Extension from the Comprehensive Transportation Plan. This came about because of Raleigh's removal of the Gorman Street section on the other side of the watershed on their jurisdiction. The direction of council about a year ago was to request a study from the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization to look at the different alternatives and tell us what the traffic ramifications were. It's a year later, and they have finished that study, and we've provided the results of that study in the staff report that we have before you tonight. Looking at the options that are there, they presented 8 different options. We looked at those and found that two of them were were recommended based on our CTP. 2 are compatible, and the rest weren't. Didn't really work with the way our CTP has it right now. And with that, we made a recommendation that, based on our review of the study, that we recommend initiating a comprehensive plan amendment to change Cary Parkway Extension from Holly Springs to Campbell Road from a 4-lane median divided landscape median cross section to a 2-lane, and to change the associated note to connect it with existing Gorman Street at Tryon Road to extend it to Yates Mill Pond Road. I was going to make sure I had the right Yates Road. So, with that, I'll take any questions y'all have on the report.
Questions?
Well, I guess we can start here. It's very confusing. The staff report is one of the more confusing ones I've seen. I think a lot of it has to do with the study that you got back,
correct,
not the part that you wrote, but it is confusing. Especially for me, I wasn't here a year ago. I wasn't part of the people who requested this whole thing to start. So I went back to the minutes a year ago and also had some conversations and tried to read between the lines. And I see your recommendation. I don't necessarily see an advantage to extending Cary Parkway to Yates Mill Pond Road. I could see some advantage. I mean, you outlined the fact that if we didn't do it, there would be more traffic on Tryon Road. You know, I understand that. But I don't see the advantages being enough to merit doing it. You have 2B here. One is removing Cary Parkway Extension, period. Based on what I know, and I want to listen to my colleagues a little bit more because they were here a year ago, but based on my looking at this, I would say let's end it where it is now, and let's not extend it to Yates Mill Pond Road. And if whatever needs to be done, and you have to tell us what that is, or at least me what that is, to do that, I would be happy with. If you think waiting and including this part of the community plan because we want to look at things holistically instead of doing it now, doing it later, well, you know, I'm okay with that too. But we have 8 alternatives, and unless those community plan people are going to come up with a number 9 that is mystically going to, you know, solve the issue, I don't know if there's much sense to that. But I'm okay with, you know, with waiting for that if we wanted to do it. But I just don't see extending it at all. At least reading this, unless you can convince me otherwise, I don't see the need for extending it at all, which might have been what you wanted a year ago. So That's just my
I'd be
comments.
happy to pick up that thread. So my recollection from a year ago, and it was the second time we had discussed it, was because Raleigh moved through Campo to take the extension from Gorman Street and meet us from the Cary Parkway extension was taken off the map, we would have a road to nowhere. So I totally get connected somewhere else, but what the council had requested, and Don, give me a reality check here if I'm wrong about this, was simply to take that section off. And that was our recommendation. Of course, we knew the study had to be done. And so the question, it seems to be, go ahead and remove it through amending the CTP, or leave it alone, and all you have is a road that on paper conceptually would connect to nothing, and roll it into the community plan and look at it then, since this road is not in any danger of being built anytime soon. We would do no harm either way, because that road, like I said, the road's not going to be built anytime soon. But when Mr. Yerha and I had talked about this a little earlier, he had raised a question. He didn't ask, but I'm going to ask now, and that is, if you look, Todd, under, you know, when you say council may pursue the following options to address ... 1 and 2. 2B talks about removing the extension. I like it right after that period. And we do know that it would adversely affect the traffic because we wouldn't have anywhere else to go. But you make the statement about consideration of changing Tryon Road to 6 lanes. And of course, we made a decision maybe 4 years ago not to have any 6-lane roads.
Right.
Notices would be sent to an additional 119 owners of 146 properties along Tryon Road. Mr. Yerha's question, which was really good, was when would those property owners be notified?
Okay, so I guess the genesis of that was going back to when council spoke to the last CTP update about the 6-lane, trying to keep Tryon from going to a 6-lane. This connection was one of the ones that sort of kept that traffic volume back a little bit and made it possible to, as was shown in the report, that the capacity sort of gets sort of right at that level where you have to start considering it out in the 2035, 2040 range. So if you don't build the connection, what we see is a lot more traffic that continues to come up Yates Mill Road and Holly Springs into the Tryon, Walnut area that would probably require it to go to 6 lanes. So the consideration of removing it would mean that we possibly would also need to look at adding Tryon, making Tryon a 6-lane again as part of the CTP change, so we could handle that traffic. Those property owners and properties that impacted would be the ones from, I believe it's Walnut Street to Cary Parkway along Tryon Road.
Right, and thank you for that explanation. But the question is a timing question. So when would the property owners be notified? Would they be notified when the CTP is changed of the potential that Tryon Road would become 6 lanes, or would they be notified at the time it's really going to happen? That was our question.
Okay, so as the comprehensive plan amendment requires, if we're looking at a comprehensive plan amendment, we have to notify all the properties within 400 feet of any of the changes. So if we were to if we were looking at removing it, we'd also have to consider expanding Tryon Road as part of that CPA as part of that comprehensive plan amendment, and therefore, if council at their meeting next week or in January decides to move forward with a comprehensive plan amendment instead of waiting to go to for it to stay in the community plan update, when we do those public hearings for council and for planning and zoning, all those properties would be sent letters to let them know of the changes.
Okay.
Or the possible changes.
To me, that's a really good background to have, because if the trade-off is no Cary Parkway extension, and the only alternative, and I don't know that it is the only alternative, but if the only alternative is to widen Tryon to 6 lanes, to me that makes me feel more strongly that we should go with the first recommendation, receive the study's information. No, I'm sorry, is to roll this into the Cary community plan, is to not do anything. Because I think as we look at that community plan and we look at what are all the things going on around us in context, maybe widening Tryon to 6 lanes is what will need to happen, and maybe not. I'd hate to really upset 119 property owners for maybe no good reason. So that kind of helps push me over to the edge of do no harm. You know, it's just a connection at this point on paper to, you know, doesn't connect to anything, and then roll it into the community plan. What do you think about that, Ed?
Well, I agree. If removing the extension completely has to be in sync with, if that triggers us deciding to widen Tryon Road, and if that possibility of widening Tryon Road then triggers notifying 119 people, we have to do that with the comprehensive plan amendment right away, I don't want to do that. So I guess we agree on that.
So kind of what I'm hearing is we're fine with removing Cary Parkway extension, period. And then looking for more input, information regarding possible alternatives.
I think what I tried to say was this. If we take the Cary Parkway extension off, what I'm hearing Todd say is, in doing that, we need to go ahead and at least put a note on the plan that would say, here's what would be a way to accommodate the increased traffic we would expect to see on Tryon Road. And to do that, we have to notify we have to do a CPA, notify 119 property owners for something that may never happen anyway.
Right.
But if we don't do anything, if we just leave it on there, even though we know if it were built today, it would connect to nothing because the Gorman Street extension's off, and roll this conversation and discussion and consideration into the community plan, the same thing may happen and it may not.
To
because-
include,
to include looking at this, to include evaluating this. Yeah, I don't know that it needs any more study. It's, you know, with 8 alternatives on the table already, but I think as we're trying to look at our community plan very holistically, and, you know, it's like pickup sticks, you move one thing and something else jiggles. I think that we have nothing to lose to do it that way. And so that's what I was trying to say.
okay.
Does that
Okay.
make
Yeah,
any sense?
no, it
In
does.
other words,
It does.
don't do anything right. You know, when we asked for this last year, we didn't have in the works, the Cary Community Plan, and
Correct.
taking all of our comprehensive plans and trying to look at them in an interconnected way. So I think our landscape's changed some. It gives us another alternative.
So it's option one, really, is what we're saying.
Yes, I believe that's what I'm saying.
And I guess with the community plan,
Yes.
at the point that we were modeling all the results last time around, was, you know, one version of the transportation model for the whole region earlier. So as we start the new plan, we'll be dealing with a more up-to-date model that, you know, through other regional planning activities, we've tried to update demographics and update, you know, with the possibility of people moving into more transit area corridors, and, you know, we've updated it with new census and stuff. So it'll be a little bit, you know, more robust than the last one, just as everyone is. So that we would still have to reevaluate it anyway. So that might be the point to do it.
So option one seems like the best thing to do right now.
Okay.
Yep, yeah.
Okay. Sounds like we're going with option one then. And then if there's any concern or heartburn, and
Take it off and
take
talk
it off
about
consent, and we can talk about it.
So it's going to go in consent. Cool.
Yeah, I know the mayor's the one that actually brought this forward, so he may have some additional
Right,
input.
and I'll talk with him before.
Yeah, no, if it's pulled, we can have this discussion that we're having right now at the council meeting.
And we'll have Todd there to answer all our questions.
Todd's
All
like,
right.
yay.
Thank you very much.
So
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rupp. All right, next up is master plan for Carpenter Neighborhood Park, and we'll hear from Mr. Doug McCraney.
Good evening.
Evening.
This staff report is regarding the eventual approval of the Carpenter Neighborhood Park Master Plan. Since we are pretty certain that this will not be placed on consent when it goes to council, we don't have a formal presentation. We have a brief presentation. Obviously, we'll answer any questions you have, but the slides will be saved for the council meeting in January. The master plan process is basically has taken about a year. It started in January 2012. And this is, of course, for Carpenter Park, which is a 16-acre park located at the southeast corner of Lewis Stevens and Morrisville Carpenter. We've owned the property since 2007. The master plan process is fairly typical. Had several public meetings. We also created a design committee of the neighborhood, which there were another number of meetings that they took part in helping to come up with a plan. The plan itself is typical of a neighborhood park, but there are always, with all of our parks, we always try to have unique aspects. There's an acre-and-a-half pond, which will probably be the focal point of the park, walking trails, which link the neighborhood to the park itself and, of course, through the park. We have a 30-car parking lot. We have the first community garden. We'll have a picnic shelter and a robust children's play area like we do with most of our parks, and a basketball multi-purpose court. And 58% of the park, the wooded area of the park, will be protected. We also have some kind of a free grass area as part of the park. Of course, the major issue with this park is access. And I think I've handed out to each one of you copies of the master plan and options that will be presented to council regarding the access. Option 1 is the access off Carpentertown Lane, along with right in, right out. And I might add, for all options, for Lewis Stevens, staff is recommending a right in, right out, no full access. And then option 1, of course, has the access from Carpentertown Lane. Option 2 has the access from Carpentertown Lane, which would be blocked off with pedestrian bollards. And then option 3 removes the access from Carpentertown Lane. In November, at the November Parks, Recreation, Coastal Resource Advisory Board meeting, we presented the master plan along with these options. There was considerable discussion, a lot of Q&A. We had a number of residents from Carpenter Village show up regarding this issue. And in the end, the board voted 9-1 in support of option 3 without access to Carpentertown Lane. And with that, and let me finish, that staff is still supporting option 1 with access from Carpentertown Lane. So that'll be my, hopefully, brief presentation. And I'll have Lori Cove, Associate Director, come up and help me answer any questions if we do have any questions regarding that access issue or any other part of the plan. Okay?
Did you want to offer anything up front, or you just?
Just happy to
available
answer
for
any questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I started with Mr. Yerha first last time. We'll go with Ms.
I
Adcock this
appreciate
time.
that. Okay, you're so egalitarian. I just love that about you. So, Mr. McRaney, how about just for our benefit and those who may be in the audience or watching home later or now, explain the staff's position why option 1 is the better option. None of these options are bad, but why option 1 is the better option given how Cary has built its other parks, what our standards are for parks, and what we're trying to achieve with our parks.
Yeah, and I'll take a stab, and then, because a few times in the past, Lori has corrected me. But basically, I think staff's position is that I think the preference would be not to force the residents or have access off a thoroughfare like Lewis Stevens into the park. I mean, I think that's basically the bottom line. And Carpentertown Lane provides then that access off a residential street, and I think we feel that with those 2 access points, it's just simply a safer park to access. And I don't know, Lori, if you want to. Okay. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So,
Good job.
So I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
Thank you, because that's my understanding as well.
Yeah.
And I know that with our park system, we try very hard to have connectivity, both in terms of vehicular connectivity, so getting in and out with your car, and also pedestrian connectivity. And so talk to me a little bit about the safety issues, about EMS and fire being able to get into this park if it only has one way in and the same way out.
Do you want to? Yeah.
Sure. That is really the primary concern that we had with only one entrance. It's people being able to access the park, but it is fire. It's also maintenance vehicles being able to access the park, and just to have alternate forms of access, not off a major thoroughfare. So both Lewis Stevens and Morrisville Carpenter, 2 sides of the park, are major thoroughfares whose primary role is just moving traffic, the mobility function, not access.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. I have to say that I appreciate the work the staff's done on this, and particularly with the neighbors. I appreciate the input the neighbors have had with this. I understand their concerns, but all things considered, and the fact that this park is for everyone in Cary, even regardless of where it's located, and even though it's called a neighborhood park, for all the things that you have mentioned, I support option 1.
And I might add to that, too, the one thing we didn't say is that our neighbor, all of our parks have service areas.
Right.
And a neighborhood park is a 1-mile service area. So, it's named Carpenter Neighborhood Park, but in fact, the area is much larger. You know what I mean? So it's serving areas outside of the neighborhood itself in terms of people coming in. So
Sure.
I just wanted to make that point.
Mr. Yerha?
Well, I can't disagree with any of your reasoning there and the things that have been said as far as emergency access and the fact that it is a neighborhood park. It's not just designed for that subdivision. But sometimes when I look at our connectivity ordinance, I think I was part of the approval process of that years ago, too. But I look at it, and sometimes it's just so mathematical, and there's not a lot of common sense every once in a while. And I think this is just one of those cases. I see all the advantages of having 2 accesses, but I look at Carpenter Town Lane, I just don't see it. I can't envision this, having full access to this park right there where it's, and it's not just me, obviously, there are other people that can't either. We're sitting here, but maybe, I can understand how it's a matter of opinion. It's not something that's maybe that clear, but I just can't see it. So, I mean, unless I can be convinced that the emergency service aspect is that important here, unless I can really be convinced that we are jeopardizing everybody using this park by having only one access, if that's really a serious thing, then, I mean, I would look at option 2 with the bollards, if that were the case, and I realize there's problems with that also. But right now, my position, since I'm not convinced of that, my position is option 3.
Okay.
I tend to agree with Ms. Adcock. I do support option 1 for many of the reasons stating, and then I also look at it as a common sense issue as well, and to me it makes common sense to have that extra road. For people that live in the neighborhood that might want to access the park without ever having to get on Lewis Stevens Road to do so. Sure, a lot of them are going to walk to it, but we're all kind of lazy sometimes and might hop in that car to get there. But I don't know. I mean, I'm the council member that lives behind Franklin Field, Mills Field, Cary High School, Cary Swim Club, and the church, and so needless to say, I have a lot of traffic going to and from schools, parks, and everything else. It's never really done a lot of negative to our neighborhood. It's it's good traffic, it's families, it's people playing with kids, it's I understand the emotion behind it, I understand the fear, but I don't see any data or anything that supports not building the road. So I'll leave it at that. There's going to be a lot more discussion on this one at the council meeting. I hate to have to say the same thing over and over again. So it sounds like we have 2 that support option 1, 1 supports option 3, and probably at the council meeting we'll find somebody that likes option 2, and maybe we can come up with a compromise agreement somehow, some way. But I would just advise everybody that's obviously interested in this. This will be on the January what council?
Is it
10th.
10th?
January 10th.
Yeah.
Council meeting agenda. This will be on for discussion towards the end of the meeting. I'm sure there will be a very lively discussion, and then there will be a final decision there. So I too would also like to thank staff for all your work on this, for all the above and beyond going to meet with the residents, and not only to get input, but to provide answers and questions. And staff, as usual, has done a heck of a job. Really appreciate everything you've done, and look forward to building this thing one day.
Yeah.
And I think it's safe to say, even if we were unanimous for one of these options, we should bring this forth for a full council discussion.
Absolutely.
Because of all that work that's been done and all the concern of the neighbors, and I think we need a council
Yeah,
decision
I
on
think
this
all
anyway.
of council
so.
will want to weigh in on this anyway. You're right, Mr. Yerha. So,
We'll send this forward with or for discussion.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments?
no, sir.
Seeing nothing, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Very much.
This has been a production of Cary TV. Visit the Town of Cary's website at townofcary.org.